So today I'm going to do a transmetatarsal amputated portion of foot. I did a toe the other day, and so now I'm just going to continue on with this extremities kind of lecture series. So it's a foot, usually comes in fragments. It makes it transmetatarsal because we have the metatarsal bones here. You can see the toes themselves have been disarticulated at the metatarsal phalangeal joints. Okay, so also with this we're looking at osteomyelitis, so look up the clinical history, particularly the imaging. The MRI will denote where they fear the osteomyelitis is so that you know which bones to actually take sections of to confirm or rule out the osteomyelitis that they clinically suspected. So, that being said, I'm going to start dictating. Consists of a 11.3 centimeter in width by 13.0 centimeter in length by 3.5 centimeter in height left transmetatarsal amputated foot, displaying 5 intact digits, period. Along the dorsal surface of the second metatarsal region is a 0.8 by 0.6 cm tan red central area of ulceration with raised borders, that is 0.2 cm from the skin and soft tissue at the resection margin, period. The plantar surface overlying the second phalange displays a 2.0 by 0.8 cm white raised excrescence, that is 0.9 cm from the skin and soft tissue at the resection margin, period. Okay, so we've got these skin lesions, we've measured them, we've given the distance to the margins, so now I'll take the skin and soft tissue margins from each of those areas and put it on FOSS. Okay, so there's my cut surface, there's my true margin. I'm going to go true margin down because that's the way they embed it on both of these sides. And then I'll also do sections of the skin lesions. Oh, look at that, actually has a sinus tract. You can see the abscess communicating with the skin. That's what that lesion is. So we'll do these sections too. Okay. Sectioning through the ulcerative lesion reveals a tan red sinus tract that extends into the subcutaneous soft tissue, period. Sectioning through the plantar surface reveals a dense white fibrous cut surface, period. Okay, so I did my clinical look it up. We're worried about the second and fourth proximal phalange, the third middle phalange, and then the second metatarsal bones as far as being our worry for osteomyelitis. You can see there's the metatarsal, the second metatarsal head actually has a little bit of exudate looking stuff on it, so that is concerning. There's our bone margin. So any bone that we take for osteomyelitis, we also want to take the bone margin. Alright. So the second proximal phalange is firm. Alright. The fourth middle phalange is firm. third middle phalange is firm. So the MRI is good, but can't always nail it. So I'm going to use the snips today. Last time on the toe I did the hammer and knife. This time, because there's so many that I gotta do, I'm just gonna take these snips. So here's my snips. They work pretty good doing smaller bones like this. Okay, so there's our bone. Oh, there you go. Alright, that's the second proximal phalange. And again, I'm basing all this information on what clinically they suspected on the MRI as being the site of osteomyelitis, which is why they've taken this guy's foot. So, I'm going to keep going after exactly what clinically they suspected. So take the time, do a good lookup on the clinical, because what will happen is you'll submit sections of what you feel like is the worst area, and clinically the pathologist will look up in the computer and they'll say, well, did you take from the second middle phalange, the third proximal phalange, or whatever, and they'll you'll say, no, I didn't. Well, they suspected osteomyelitis there, and you have to go back to the bucket to put in more sections. So take a little bit more time, look up the clinical history, and it'll save you having to go back to the bucket. Okay, so I've got the second proximal phalange, the fourth proximal phalange, the third middle phalange, and now the second metatarsal, which is this one, what we suspected. So I suspect they're right about this one though. See how easy I was able to cut through that piece of bone? So you can see that bone right there, soft. Okay. And so we took from the second, fourth, third toes. So what we'll need to do is take margins from all that. I typically like to go in order. Just makes it so much simpler. So this is going to be my second metatarsal bone margin. Then I'll do my third metatarsal bone margin. Say cut these any way you can. Basically, it's, you know, some people use a saw for this. I typically don't like to get the saw dirty on toes when I can just snip off what I need. Some people like the hammer and knife. So here's the fourth metatarsal bone margin. Even though we took from the phalange, we're going to take the metatarsal bone because that's the actual bone margin for this resection. We could take the site from the articular surface of the metatarsal joining with the phalange bone, but this is the true margin where this was touching patient. So this is actually a true margin. So my sections are Skin and soft tissue margin along dorsal surface, skin and soft tissue margin along plantar surface, ulcerative defect along dorsal surface, raised excrescence along plantar surface, second proximal phalange with overlying possible abscess, fourth proximal phalange, third middle phalange, and then second metatarsal bone. And then of course I've got my second metatarsal bone resection margin, third metatarsal bone resection margin, and fourth metatarsal bone margin. And that is how I'm going to do this transmetatarsal amputation.